What's up, guys? Crypto Gordo here, back with another coin overview. And today I want to talk to you guys about PayPie, which is a new P2P lending, accounting, and credit risk platform coming out on the Ethereum blockchain. And it's similar to Populous. You know, Populous is a rather popular name. Cliff High is a big fan of Populous and what it does. And this has a similar function to Populous. That's actually where a lot of the fundamentals of the token are. And is something where I really like about the platform itself and about the tokens, is because it has that fundamental aspect to it where it has actual use rather than just being a form of currency like a Bitcoin. Then I think that, you know, the project actually has some good merit, and for all its ambition, has a lot of good use to come out of it still. As always, this is not financial advice. I will not be participating in the PayPie ICO, as I don't participate in any ICOs. And this is a sponsored video. The guys over at PayPie and SlickPie had reached out to me to let me know about the platform. And while I do get a lot of requests for coin overviews, I see a lot of crappy ones that come through. But this one stood out because, again, it has good fundamentals. It has good use for the token, more than just being a form of currency or a copycat to some of the top ones like Bitcoin, Litecoin, and things like that. So what is PayPie? So they are essentially creating a decentralized accounting, P2P lending, and credit risk assessment platform for businesses, and is hoping to provide real-time financial data for their clients, as well as credit insights for creditors and lending partners, all built on the Ethereum blockchain. So everything will be logged into that backbone, and this can help cut down on any type of fraudulent activity and keep all of the numbers and financials set in stone. It does, as I said, it sort of competes with Populous. It does have that P2P lending platform in it, but it has additional services that make it a little bit more interesting than Populous, and certainly has more to offer than a Populous does. And so outside of the ambition of the platform that I really like, they're also building off of an existing platform known as SlickPie, as I may have mentioned earlier. SlickPie is a freemium accounting service, so it has free services, but you can pay for additional ones if you're a small to mid-sized company, and that will help establish and build the framework for their accounting platform. So they're not necessarily building something from scratch here. Even though this is an ICO to then raise funds and distribute the tokens, they do have a little bit more built behind it than, say, an EOS, which was starting from scratch with just a white paper. The guys here at PayPie are going to be building off of SlickPie for the accounting piece of it, and then they'll be also integrating additional information from various APIs like QuickBooks Online and others. And so again, the three core functions of the platform are the accounting platform, the marketplace lending, which is where the P2P lending platform is going to be, and then the credit risk algorithm, which is really something that they're hyping up to be the key differentiator for what they're looking to bring to the market and how they look to be different, in addition to having this accounting platform built on the blockchain. And so who is the product really for? That's a good way to get a better understanding of why an ICO is coming out, especially if you are trying to identify whether or not a coin is going to be a scam or something like that. This is going to be a platform that has good use for it, and has a use for not just us as consumers, but just, you know, in general in the marketplace, as a company that can help work with other companies and help other companies get the funding and lending and help them with the services that they need completed from a financial standpoint. The main folks for this are, of course, going to be small to mid-sized enterprises that can use the accounting side and also use the funding from the P2P lending service, which we'll talk about in a minute. This will also be used by insurers who sell insurance because of the credit risk assessment. Creditors can go and insurers can go look at the information within the platform and see whether or not a company is paying their bills on time, how their credit rating is, and that's key, because then those insurers and creditors can come and trust the platform because it's built into the blockchain and there is no fraudulent type of activity going on PayPie's end by going in and adjusting and tweaking numbers around that you could potentially find in other third-party lending services. Once it's set in stone into the blockchain, it cannot be amended, and that could be key for insurers and creditors to look at and help make decisions quicker for these companies that are looking for either quicker cash flow or any type of credit. And then, of course, third-party auditors, accounting firms, governments, credit opportunities from banks and investors, and invoice factoring, which invoice factoring is really the main piece of why this coin has great fundamentals, and we'll talk about that in a minute, and allows all of us, just even as Joe Bob and the average person, to participate and earn PayPie tokens as part of participation within the P2P lending place. And now, why is a platform like this needed? We talked about who it's needed for, but why? And so the two main reasons are for yearly audits and the costs associated with that. For the small to mid-sized enterprise space, audits can be costly, time consuming, and it can really cut down on the amount of time and energy spent having to go through books and make sure that things are squared away and ready for a following year, or for whatever purpose it may be. If it's from if the government's coming in to audit you, the IRS, or if you're just doing an audit because you need some additional funding, this platform can help you out. If you've been using it long enough, you can have the trustless backbone there to just go and say, hey, look, here's our books. They can't be amended, they can't be changed. It's that trustless environment, and that should help speed up time for auditing practices and help get that funding a little bit faster. And then additionally, the time to receive funding for small to mid-sized enterprises. Cash flow is a huge part of this space. When when you don't have a big name and you don't have tons and tons of donors, sponsors, and customers, cash flow is key, especially when you are cutting big deals, you're waiting for invoices to clear, you need that cash right away. And so a lot of the problem with the current space now is that it can take two weeks sometimes to get your cash, about a week for research and maybe up to a week to actually receive your cash. And when you have employees that need paid, you have your vendors that need paid, that can be a long period of time, and you don't want to necessarily keep running up credit and paying off various companies and credit cards that way. Rather, you can go and get cash, sell your invoice to the PayPie marketplace. The PayPie token holders could then buy that invoice, and then once the invoice comes in from the client, PayPie token holders will get paid in PayPie tokens for the difference of what they paid for the actual invoice initially, which is what I do like about this token. And again, we'll get into that here in a little bit. So let's go over and take a look at how this is going to work, or what the simplified structure of PayPie is going to be. So we'll have the lending platform where the token's fundamental value will be derived from. It'll be P2P lending, factoring, and cash flow for the small to mid-sized enterprises, so that cash can be used and spent as needed when cash gets a little tight. Rather than waiting for 90-day invoices, you can get your cash right away. Obviously, that's going to come at a cost, but you can get your cash and go forward from there. It'll also have the accounting platform. They're going to use triple entry accounting for data accuracy, which is sort of a fancy new way that accounting is being done. So that is another differentiator for what they're looking to do. Although, there are plenty of accounting platforms that are doing the same thing with this space. And then, like I said, the initial accounting platforms framework will be built from SlickPie, which is already existing. So they will just sort of bring that over, all of that data, and then they'll have an existing platform with which to build upon. And then finally, the risk score algorithm, which is kind of the last leg of the process. You can see here that once they have the PayPie platform established, bringing in the data from SlickPie, they'll also be bringing in data from QuickBooks Online, NetSuite, Xero, and Sage. And then that will give them a nice solid set of data to then work with, and then start to develop that risk score algorithm. And that's all done. All of that information can be brought in, and all that data can be brought in from the APIs that exist in those platforms. So it's a nice way for them to get all of that data, get it in rather easily. Of course, there'll be some time needed to universalize all of that information and make it all look nice and make it all talk to each other. But at the end of the day, it's not, again, like they're starting from scratch. They're going to use data that exists and then build out the platform from there. And then they'll also have a centralized system, but then they'll have, which is mainly the decentralized single ledger, and then integrate additional information into that risk score algorithm. So they'll use other risk assessment parties to sort of generate a holistic risk assessment from a number of different areas that can be used again, all built on the blockchain. All right, so let's take a look at the token distribution. That's always a good indicator of how much these coins are going to be valued once they hit the market. So they'll have a total of about 165 million tokens. The initial distribution is going to be 110 million tokens, of which only 82.5 million are going to be for sale to contributors. The other 27.5 million are going to be for teams, advisors, bounties, additional funding, things like that. And then they'll have another 55 million coming out that will be generated to keep as reserve for 1 year, solely to develop partnerships, future acquisitions, and become a dominant leader. So, that you see that they're looking to be not just a centralized platform or a decentralized marketplace solely. They're looking to be a business that users can participate in. So this is not, you don't want to think of this type of platform as purely decentralized. I don't want to give anyone that type of impression. Blockchain technology is going to lend itself for a lot of opportunities for us as investors to come in and participate in. And again, think of it kind of as a job or a way to just make some passive money or some money on the side. You can participate in these platforms, and that's the decentralized piece, is that the lenders or those who are going to be giving out or buying invoices to then wait for invoices to come in from clients for these companies, that is where the decentralized aspect of it can be. And then in addition to that, the blockchain technology is being used to validate information and keep information secure. And so again, I want to focus on how the tokens have value, because I mentioned it earlier. We talk about fundamentals. That's going to be key in any type of token that comes out and hits the marketplace moving forward, because we have our established currencies. We don't need a lot more currencies coming out. We need tokens that are going to come out that have good fundamentals and have use in the space. And the reason why these tokens have value is, again, for the customer liquidity. So token holders can buy invoices at a discounted rate with the tokens and provide the small to mid-sized businesses with cash within 24 hours. The token holder can be a person, lender, investor, bank, or any other institution that wants to participate. So it's kind of exciting to think about that. If you wanted to be involved with this and be a part of this economy, you could certainly do so, but you could be competing with banks as well. So, and then, the beauty of that is that if you have extra tokens and you want to take on more risk, you're going to be more likely to take on that additional risk for buying an invoice from a company that, say, has a little bit more risk in either the dealings they work with, the clients they work with, and the clients that pay up on time, or if it takes a little bit longer, or if the invoices are taking longer to come in. Those are the types of things that are going to be built into this, and it's going to be kind of a game where you can look at the invoices that need to be bought. You can see the type of risk that comes in with it, what type of reward there's going to be for it, because again, the higher the risk, the higher reward in this platform, and then you could of course take that risk, whereas a bank or another lending institution may not necessarily be able to do that. So it could leave some good opportunity for you guys if you're going to, again, participate in the economy and be a part of the platform. And then all transactions are rated at the end of the deal, kind of like an Uber or Airbnb. Everyone gets a rating and talks about their experience, and I assume that if your rating gets bad enough, you're not going to be able to participate in the platform. And then lastly, we'll take a look at the roadmap. And we're basically here sitting at the token crowd sale, which is next month on October 15th. And from there, they will distribute out everything. PayPie platform will then be launched with the real-time credit risk analysis on March 2018, or between March and April of 2018. And again, that's because it's the easiest one to get. They're going to be integrating all of that data. That's where they'll have the real-time credit risk analysis built out, and they can use that as, again, part of the sort of first leg of the platform. We'll then start establishing the marketplace in between May and June of 2018, which will then, again, that's where the fundamental aspect of the tokens will be derived from. So the tokens may not have a lot of value until then. Of course, they're not like securities, so it's not like you're buying any part of the company. So just keep that in mind. Like with any ICO, there's going to be that time where they're not going to be used, and then once they're being used, then of course the value will be established at that point in time. So it's a long time. It's it's about 8-9 months. So you could be looking at prices to come down. You might be able to flip the tokens initially when you get them, but all in all, it's going to be a little bit of time before the fundamental value of the token comes out. And so again, May to June 2018, the marketplace will be established. You can then start doing the P2P lending. The following months, there will be ERP integrations, the API access, the decentralized accounting system. And then lastly, they'll wrap up with the full decentralized accounting system launch in 2019. So that's it for my coverage of PayPie. I hope you guys thought this was interesting and worth the time. Again, I think that they have a good idea going on. They compete with Populous, which is one of those, again, more popular ideas, courtesy of Cliff High. Of course, he thought that it was a great concept and a great idea, and this is building off of that idea and doing more with it, and could certainly compete with Populous in that space here in the next couple of years. Now, be sure to do your own research, invest at your own risk. This is something that you guys always need to be doing on your own, but I always like to at least do a little bit of coverage of these ICOs, especially when I think they're interesting and have good value in the space. Regardless of whether or not these guys reached out to me, I probably would have eventually done an ICO review of this token. Granted, we're still 26 days out at this point in time, but there could be more good new information that comes out about the platform, for better or for worse. Only time will tell, but at this point I think it's a pretty good platform and a pretty good token idea, and is something that I'll be keeping my eye on as we move forward into 2018 and 2019, which could be a big year, not only for PayPie but for a lot of tokens as well. So that's it for me on this one, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know if I missed anything, or if you have any questions about the platform. I'd love to chat with you guys about it, and just get your thoughts and see what you guys think, and if you think that it's going to compete with Populous, or if you don't, or if it's going to crash and burn, whatever it is, I'd love to hear about it. So again, be sure to like and subscribe, follow me here, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Steemit, and be sure to disregard fiat and acquire Bitcoin. We'll see you guys.